Hello, it's Thursday, it's 4 o'clock, and that can only mean one thing. It's the Jonny Yates Marketing Chat Show. And we have got a fantastic guest today in Andrea Watts.
Hi.
Andrea is a Brit based in Paris. So we've got this pan-European connection that we often seem to be having, Andrea. We're going to be talking today about things that we left behind in our childhood. So, habits and behaviors and all good stuff that we did as kids that we've kind of forgotten how to, or we've kind of lost track of it. And what we're doing today is we're encouraging very much an interactive session. We're using this brilliant platform of Be Live. It's brilliant for now because it's working. Once it stops working, it's rubbish, of course. And we can invite people on. So anybody watching who wants something to wants to add something to the conversation directly, we can actually bring you in on camera. So if you've got that in mind and you're watching, just make sure you're on Google Chrome and you've got a webcam enabled with a microphone. We can bring you in and we can have a chat. Just increase the size of the little chat group. Usual rules, of course. Comment if you're watching. So anybody who's around, just ask questions and comment and say hi. I want to kick things off just by positioning where the idea for this came from. So I stuck a post out on the Jonny Yates Marketing group back on the 2nd of March, and I just said the following. I said, Andrea Watts suggested an idea for a chat show topic, things we had as children that we since lost. And then we kicked it off with a couple of ideas, didn't we? Like the ability to switch moods instantly and feel whatever we want to feel. And we got tons and tons of people, didn't we, coming on board and saying things that they felt they'd from their childhood. So I know you've been doing a bit of work on this since then, haven't you, Andrew? And come up with some ideas as to, what we should be putting out in this session. So maybe get you to get things rolling.
Yeah, well, I was really happy to see all of the comments and just how much so many people are actually already accessing. Hi, Dave. He doesn't. Yeah. He's really good at accessing the smiles and the laughter. So
Dave's wonderful. We all love Dave.
I'd love to hear from Dave where he gets his inspirations from to do all that laughter work that he does.
We can dig into that in a sec, Dave. If you hang around, we'll come back to you. If you can get yourself on Google Chrome, we can bring you in if you'd like. So
what came out mainly from the comments that was real fun, to see so much interaction. What a shame Karen Majid can't play today.
No, it's a shame.
We get the replay. She's probably out in the snow again if you've got any there. So there was the laughter. There was what came through was the fearlessness. No fear.
So why do you think? I mean, just for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, Andrea is a very, very heart-centered and inspirational life coach, and you specialize in, seeing the world inside out rather than outside in.
Yeah, and getting clarity from that as to who we truly are. Yeah.
My question for Andrea is, why do you think we lose that fearlessness that we had as children?
I don't think we my personal feeling is we don't actually lose it. It's from personal experience and working with clients. It's there. It's just that it gets sort of pushed down under all these layers of things that we're supposed to do as we grow. We as kids, we go into school. In England, we go in a bit later into school. We go to play school before, so we get a chance to play. Here in France, kids go into the school structure at 2.5, 3 years old.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily just play. So it starts off very early where we get all of these rules and regulations and what we're supposed to do, and eat your greens, or you don't get to watch the TV program you wanted, or You know, so there's all these conditions that we get piled down on top of all this joy and fearlessness and laughter, and it all gets a bit more serious as we move on through the system.
Don't you think a bit of fear, though, can be useful? I mean, fearlessness in the sense that, you know, you don't appreciate the dangers out there in the real world. So, you know, you'll jump off a wall without thinking about it and fall into the sea and things like that.
You've got Humpty Dumpty going on again in my head now. Talk about falling falls.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fear when it is used as a guide is useful, but if we're accepting fear as a rule of life, if we're totally linked to what our brain's telling us, at the back of our brain we've got the little sort of buzzer that goes off and says fear, fear, fear. You know, you hear a dog bark, and that takes you way back to when whatever was back to Neanderthals and things, where there was some big creature stalking around going to eat you.
Yes, it was useful then.
It was useful, yeah. But it's if we listen to it too much, which is why coming again to the inside out and the 3 Ps, the 3 principles come into it too. We can start to work through that and bypass all of that sort of sort of response, emergency response, and go back to enjoying life again. It's a lot easier. Back to ease, I think I like to call it. Back to ease.
Yeah. So let's just focus on that for a bit, because, you know, obviously the words enjoy life a bit more, go back to ease, you know, it all sounds good, but how do we actually do that? You know, if we are naturally fearful and you know, all the other stuff that we've wrapped around our childish instincts, how do we go back to it?
We're actually amazing beings. We do have the power within us to decide whether we believe those thoughts, those fearful thoughts, or not. We can question them, and we can allow ourselves to do things differently. I had a little anecdote, if I've just got a couple of minutes to share that here, of something that happened yesterday in the metro, in the underground here in Paris. I decided to spend the day with friends, so I was out playing. Chatting, having lunch and stuff, and coming back, I was in a really, really good mood, had a lovely day, and I thought, I'm just going to let that float, all this nice energy float around and see what happens, see what that attracts. And around me, all I could see was people smiling. And then there was a young lady sitting opposite across the aisle, happy, smiley face, and there was I didn't see, there was an elderly guy sitting behind, and suddenly I heard the young lady say, I was busy, I was reading my book, and this young lady, I heard her say thank you, and I looked up, and the elderly gentleman had given her a drawing of her.
Oh wow!
They didn't know each other. He'd just done this very quick little drawing of her. He gave it to her, and she was like blushing and pink and really happy that somebody had taken the trouble to do that. And she sat there smiling for a few minutes, and then she went to get off. And in fact, she didn't get off. She sat next to the old guy and chatted to him for a little while. And the both of them were just sitting there really, really happy. And I thought, well, there you've got a pure example of how to change your day and to change somebody else's day. Share the love, you know. They didn't know each other, and there was no fear. This old guy had no fear, and because he had no fear, that was communicative, and the young lady went into that and chatted with him. Can you imagine what that would do in our lives if everybody did some small thing like that every day?
Well, that's a very childlike thing to do in terms of not having inhibitions about stuff, isn't it? I mean, my lad Oscar is 2.5 now. There he is.
Yeah, he's not coming on with us live today, then.
Yeah, and well, he might do. He might pop in, but he does that. I mean, we're on a train. He'll walk down the carriage, and and just stand and look at someone and say hi, until they talk to him. So yeah, maybe that's something that we have lost along the way as well. Welcome everybody who's here. Just to reiterate, we've got Andrea Watts with us today, and we're talking about things that we left behind from our childhood. So behaviours and things that we did when we were kids that we've kind of forgotten how to. I'm just going to go through these actually, because Pamela, when we posted this originally at the beginning of the month, she said kids don't hold a grudge. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. I wonder what it is, whether it's forgive and forget, or just them memories aren't particularly well developed. Have you any insights on that, Andrea?
Yeah, they're very different in that they don't. They're still innocent. They don't take things personally, so they don't think that somebody's saying something to them to hurt them, for example, or so. It's all there's no personal aspect about it, so they just forget things far more easily, and they can have a friend that's going to say something to them, but if they don't take it personally, then next time they see that friend, then they're just going to carry on playing together, and so there's no blockage between the two of them. The communication flows.
I know from Oscar, and when he gets a telling off from his mum or his dad, he'll immediately react to be upset for a while, but then he'll instantly get over it and just go back to what he was doing. And his relationship with us, post the rollicking will be just back to where it was before, almost instantly.
Yeah, that's a whole different subject, about how we can talk to children differently. My take on it is that we're actually learning far more from them than they are from us. But they try very hard to teach us, but we don't listen too well as adults. We're too busy out there doing our shopping and stuff like that.
That's so true. So is taking it personally / bearing a grudge ever useful as an adult?
Honestly, no, I wouldn't say it is. The more you take things personally, the more difficulties you're going to have with getting on with people in the world. It is a defense mechanism. I mean, a lot of the clients that come to me are on the border between therapy and coaching, and they have to get through this barrier of, and it's all stuff that they've picked up during their childhood again. And again, one of the advantages of the inside out way of looking at life is that you don't base who you are on who other people were and what you went through as a child. You just realize that was somebody else's problem because you as a child were just being an innocent bystander. And anybody is,
What about the epidemic of getting offended as well? Everyone seems to get offended by everything these days, don't they?
Well, I don't want to say get off Facebook, but if you use Facebook differently, if you're offended by something, then it's touching, and then we're going down something that could get quite deep. But I can talk about that. I'll be talking about that sort of thing on some of my other groups. Getting offended by stuff means that actually that's touching something within you that's hanging about, that's blocking you, and that you need to work on and eliminate. And sometimes, and I know that Dave Berman on this is very clear that a lot of laughter, if you just laugh about something, then it just basically goes away. So there's many ways of. And also, there's another thing with kids as well, that they have no guilt.
Yes.
And they don't learn about lying till they're about 7.
Okay.
So up to that age, they can tell you anything, and it's true for them. They'll be standing there with their face covered full of chocolate, with chocolate, and you'll say, "Where's all the chocolate gone?" And they'll say, "I don't know," because to them, it's it's not a lie. They don't have any guilt about it. Have you had that yet? The chocolate cake all disappears.
So that's interesting. You're not saying little kids don't lie; they just don't know they're lying.
It's only as they start learning as they grow up, and that's in our Western culture. I mean, in other cultures, it can be quite different. And it is a cultural thing as well. We learn differently around the subject of guilt. So
fantastic. Well, we're here on the Jonny X Marketing Chat Show with Andrea Watts, talking about things that we left behind as kids, and we would love to hear your comments, get your comments and questions. If someone's particularly around for a bit, you can come and join us. We can actually bring you into this conversation. So drop a comment first of all, and we'll pick that up and run with it, I'm sure. Very informal today, and if you fancy it, we can get you on board for a chat with us. I'm just going to look at something else which Karen Majid said when we originally posted this idea in the group. She said, we've forgotten how to run around like lunatics because it's fun and it's what our bodies want to do. As opposed to turning it into a thing we should do. Of course, that's exercise, isn't it? We feel we ought to. And take any opportunity to play. I've felt this for a while. I mean, one of the first posts that I put together as a daily brain tattoo was somebody reminded me of the relationship between being happy and dancing. So kids have this happy dance thing. They can't stand still when they're happy, and most kids run around in circles like a maniac. But it's also notable, it works the other way around as well, that if you dance, if you move around, you can't help but be happy. There's just this two-way causal relationship between the activity and the way you feel, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, as a child, you're not asking, you're not thinking about it so much. You're just doing it. You're just tapping into your natural energy. As we grow up and start getting into more sort of academic stuff, when we do, there's far more energy goes into making our brain function.
Right.
So you've got all of the stuff, the breathing and stuff that goes on naturally as you learn to walk and stand and what have you. All of that goes on more and more naturally. You're putting less and less energy into the thought.
Yes.
About 30, I think it's, if my figures are correct, about 30% of your energy actually goes to making your brain function.
Yes.
So the more you're thinking, the more energy you're using. So kids have got all this excess energy. They're just running it off and playing, and it's fun. Whereas when we get older, we're told that, you've got to keep slim, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And there's no more fun. There has to be some sort of outcome from it. Whereas a kid's just going to dance. It's not for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, just for the sake. Well, I'm sure looking at my lad, he can't help himself. It's just almost a motor reaction. He dances when he's happy and runs around and squeals. If Dave is still around, still watching, I can't see who is with us, but I've just sent you, Dave, a link to join the broadcast. If you want to click that, you can jump on and come and talk with us. While waiting for Dave to decide whether he's going to do that, here's another thought from, let's have a look. Yeah, from Kevin Taylor McHale. Yeah, I mean, lack of cynicism, he said. Well, yeah, I mean, kid, that seems to be quite a grown-up concept, isn't it? Being cynical about things. Where do we get our cynicism from?
Well, again, it's a way of protecting our egos and working through stuff as adults. I mean, if you're cynical about something, it means that really you've got something to say that you can't say very clearly, and so you say it in a twisted about way, and that's also become part of our humor now. I mean, I grew up in the UK with things like The Life of Brian and what have you, so my type of humor is one thing. Other people use irony and sarcasm, but that's always showing that basically they've got something going on inside, and that and that's the way we are as human beings now. We're all different. We all have different ways of dealing with it. But given the levels of stress that are sort of increasing in society, and people are so, they get stressed about stress. I haven't got stress. Should I get stressed about this? No. You're very lucky.
That's a great concept.
Should I be stressed? Everybody else is. And then again, we come back to the inside out. If you're feeling good, don't be worrying what's happening. you're feeling good and don't feel guilty about it. So,
well, I'm going to push a button now. I'm going to welcome Dave to the broadcast. Dave should be right here with us shortly. And
I'm here. I'm here.
Hi, Dave.
Do you know what? I'm so pumped about this on a number of levels. Not least that we're all over the blooming world, aren't we? I'm in the UK. Andrea's in Paris. Dave's in Vietnam. At least you were last time. But I recognise that. So Dave, I mean, you are you are a master at what can be seen as a fairly sort of childlike pursuit, which is just laughing. I don't want to say laughing at anything, because you might argue with me on that, but you certainly you've certainly carried on that. One of the great characteristics of a child, which is laughing and giggling all the time. How do you do that, and what marks you out as different from other people in your ability to do that?
I don't think I'm different from other people. Okay. I did have to be reminded and treat it as something to learn to do on purpose. But once I learned that laughing on purpose combined with deep breathing and doing all of it with this spirit of childlike playfulness, I'm talking about the teaching of laughter yoga, which is done all over the world. And when I embraced that as a form of exercise, because there's many health benefits to laughing, I began to discover that it goes far beyond the physiological, chemical, neurological inner experience that the act of laughing automatically creates for us. That the laughing also is a mode of self-discovery. And so it became something that I began using in my work as a coach and a hypnotherapist, and I continue to explore it every day.
Yeah, sounds like we've got a dog laughing next door as well.
He's very good at that. He gets regular, laugh modules. He gets massages, so he's quite happy.
Yeah, he sounds like it. One of the things I'm intrigued about, Dave, because I've watched you in action with the daily laugher things, and is what is making you laugh at the point where you do that? I mean, forced laughter, of course, is a kind of has negative connotations. I'm not suggesting that, but what do you do to make yourself laugh on demand, kind of thing?
Well, the wording of your question is something that I hear a lot, and I always sort of premise, because I'm not making myself laugh, and I have no responsibility. I don't take or making other. I allow myself to laugh. The laughter's already inside. Babies in all cultures laugh even before they can speak a language, and even before they can intellectually understand what's funny. So laughter is innate, like the three principles. Laughter is something that we seem to, for variety of reasons, lose along the way, but it's always still there. So what I see is that, like the three principles, we have this subtractive model where we need to stop stopping ourselves. We need to remove the things that we have built or accepted as limitations to when and where it's appropriate to laugh or how to laugh. But there's no making laughter necessary. It's already there. We just allow it out.
So you're suggesting laughter is a natural state of being, then?
Oh, yeah. And we can choose it. It may be natural in the sense of a reflex. You see something and it amuses you, and without any thought at all, you respond with laughter. But we can also choose to laugh. And when we do this on purpose, with enthusiasm and willingness, and then especially in a group environment where we benefit from eye contact that makes it even more contagious, then we can really get on quite well for an extended period and make it an exercise class. And once you're able to do that, you can do it alone as well. You don't need to rely on having a group of people. You don't need to rely on someone guiding you and telling you, okay, let's try this laughter exercise or that laughter exercise. Those things become like training wheels, and you you just allow the laughter to flow. I mean, that's my, my situation.
Yeah. I mean, I guess my reaction to this is it sounds great. I mean, I love laughing, and for me to laugh requires a trigger. So, I go and see a great comic and my sides are bursting, by the end of it, because I've just laughed continuously for an hour and a half. In terms of triggering myself to laugh for what might seem like no reason, part of me says that's a bit mad, isn't it?
To me, it looks exactly the opposite. It looks mad to me to say, well, yeah, intellectually, I get that the body changes in a lot of ways. There's all these health benefits to laughing. Intellectually, I get that we're all born with the ability to laugh. The laughter's inside, but it still seems like it would be a real challenge to let it out. There's all these rationalizations to not do it. And so you're just thinking. It's just your thinking that's stopping you. So as soon as you stop thinking, you don't have to have anything external be a trigger. You can make it a choice. And the brilliant thing is, and this is sort of a principle of laughter, is that the body doesn't know the difference between laughing at something funny and laughing on purpose. So when you simulate laughter, when you make laughter sounds and you're doing it on purpose, it invariably becomes real and authentic and contagious.
Yeah. Let me tell you about an experience I had then a couple of weeks ago. See where you think this came from. So I was at a networking session, and the very sort of inspirational host of this session said, right, to get started, we're going to get up and I want you to turn to the person to the left of you, and for the next 2 minutes we're just going to stare into each other's eyes. Don't make any noise. And just, for no purpose, don't think about connecting or, try and pass any particular emotions, just stare into their eyes. And most people started laughing before the end of the 2 minutes. It wasn't possible to actually hold a stare without laughing. Yeah. I felt that was probably based on the embarrassment of the situation, the discomfort we felt in that situation. What's your take on that?
It's a connection thing. When you look into somebody's eyes, you say the eyes are the window of the soul. So basically you're connecting direct to that space within, which is common to, it's actually, when you get into spirituality, it's not actually within, it's with everywhere. It's everywhere.
What made us laugh in doing that, Dave? You got any insights?
I can't say for sure, because you're talking about a group of people and everybody may have had their own so-called reason, but I can relate to the story in a different sort of way. I remember, well, first of all, I have been introduced to the term soul gazing to describe the exercise that you were invited to participate in. So the idea of just, lining up with somebody and holding their gaze and doing nothing but looking into their eyes is called soul gazing, at least in the tradition of Tantra yoga. And I'm not an expert in Tantra yoga like I am with laughter yoga, but I remember going to a few classes in Tantra yoga a few years ago, and this was an exercise that we did, and I loved it because it was already something that I enjoyed just in the intimacy of life. Now, doing it in that setting, a yoga studio with like 8 or 10 people, candlelit room on a Friday night. The setting was very sort of spiritual and solemn, and we didn't burst out laughing. You were in a setting where people were like, what the F is this? This isn't, anything that I relate to. And so I think maybe for some people it was discomfort. Maybe for some people it was like, whoa, this is turning me on. What's happening? It could have been a variety of things. But for me, I love getting the opportunity to do what you described.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, and the strange thing was, it was actually a 3-day event. This was at the start of the first day, and at the end of the third day, we did feel that we'd bonded. We still had a bond with the person that we stared at, or stared with. I
did a thing on blindfolded hugs. in Paris. There was a group. It's an international group set up by some Australians. And basically we stood around in a circle with our backs to each other, and we were blindfolded, and people just came up and hugged us. And people, tell you they love you. And there was a couple with, I think it was a 3-week-old baby. And they just gave this baby to the blindfolded person, one of the people in the group.
Oh, wow.
There was the
really
trust. The trust was there. I mean, there was no, no eye contact, but there was just a deep connection, because the people with blindfolds were totally trusting of those coming towards them. And the people arriving, they were just totally trusting and giving this child. And there was tears all round, but it was happy tears. It was just such a wonderful, point of connection with people. I've also done the eye staring thing in Paris in the metro. Now that was an experience. It was slightly different from the hugs on a Friday night at 6:30 in rush hour.
So that was a consensual thing, or you were just generally staring at people?
It was the soul gazing. Yeah, it's like wearing binoculars but looking. Exactly. It's the soul gazing thing. And there's a wonderful, all of the barriers break down. Basically, there's no more barriers, and you just go straight to connect with that place of joy that you're born with, because you have no specific feelings about anything. And so,
well, if you just joined us, I'm Jonny. I'm with Andrea Watts today. We have a special guest, Dave Berman, who's jumped in. Dave is a laughter yoga specialist, and Andrea and I are discussing the idea that we've left stuff behind as children, things that we did and that we took as normal behavior as children that we now don't do. And I'm just going to read something else out, actually, from my very good friend Mario Alberto Bauer, who is a world traveler. He's down in South America right now, even though he's German, in fact. He says, playfully making new friends and openly showing who you like. He said that the disliking someone bit gets developed into adulthood and very well honed in adulthood. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Kids really don't dislike anyone, do they? Put a group of kids in. Oscar goes to nursery on a Tuesday morning, and he just dives in there, and everybody just plays and just gets on. Really, why do we develop, or why do we stop doing that naturally as we get older?
Well, there's several reasons for it, but again, they're going to play groups, so they're in contact with adults, and adults influence children. So,
not always for the better.
Sorry,
not
Dave?
Always for the better.
Not always for the better. So as soon
we get told
as
not to talk to strangers, don't we? I guess which knocks out some of the natural ability to make friends.
Well, yes. I mean, there are certain. I mean, we live in society, and so there are people that have issues. You had that guy that you talk about that had issues. So yes, unfortunately, still there are people that we need to be careful of. So little by little, kids learn. But like you say, when they first, a group of small children, when they get together, they have absolutely no reason to dislike each other. It's just pure love when they connect.
Yeah,
so,
just another little human.
Yeah.
Dave, in your space, do you find that carrying this kind of mindset of laughter and joy, that it's easier to start talking with strangers? Just having random conversations all the time.
Yeah, because one of the enduring benefits of a regular intentional laughter practice is being more playful. I walk down the street and I talk to or smile at or laugh with everybody, and I don't even speak the native language here. One of the things that's become really cool for me very, very recently, this city, Ho Chi Minh City, is very densely populated, and the streets are crowded specifically with people riding motorbikes.
Yeah, right.
And so there's a cacophony of honking going all the time. And people here are not very strict about following like traffic lights or right-of-way protocols. So you have to really be paying attention all around you as a pedestrian to stay safe. It's a dangerous place. And one of the things that I've started to do as I'm walking down the street to keep myself safe is going beep, beep. Because I hear it all around, and I figure this must be the most popular word in the Vietnamese language. Beep, beep.
Yeah.
And I love the way that people are responding to me because, number one, it's stopping people from backing into me with their motorbike. So I'm keeping myself safe. But number two, I'm noticing like a huge supermajority of the responses have this like sort of quizzical, puzzled look and then a big smile. Like people respond to my playfulness with a smile and with appreciation. Yeah,
you don't think they're judging you as a madman at that point, then?
Definitely not. Because another thing that I do a lot here in Ho Chi Minh City is make eye contact with little kids. And then people are, like you were saying, always wanting to sort of show me the kid. And like people will like take the arm of the little kid and make them wave to me. And I'll get into a connection with the kid basically by mirroring them. I'll do whatever the kid's doing. And then the kid's face will light up. And so I've never had children of my own. I've never wanted children of my own. I don't fancy myself as a potentially good father. It's just not on my radar. But I've learned that I have within me the ability to just spontaneously show up in a childlike and playful way with adults and children.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, just a note to the viewers, feel free to comment. We are here talking about things we left behind as children. If you've got any suggestions as to stuff that you left behind as a child that you no longer do and you would like to do, maybe we can offer some insights on how to get that stuff back. Dave Berman is here as a laughter expert, a laughter yoga expert. Andrea, you've got some thoughts right now. Please comment, guys. Let's see what you made of.
Yeah, I think Dave just had something to add there to finish on.
Well, yeah, I wanted to loop back to your comments about hugs because hugs and laughter have at least one major thing in common that comes to my mind, and that is that they both stimulate production of oxytocin,
precisely,
which is the bonding hormone.
Yeah.
So we develop a fondness for people that we laugh with, and we feel a great attraction to people when we're intimate with them, and that can even include experiments like the blindfolded hug, or something I've done many times, which is to stand in a public place with the free hugs sign. And I've done that for hours, and I've received and given, so shared hundreds of hugs in a concentrated period of time, and I come away feeling like I'm in this love bubble, just overflowing with oxytocin, and it's wonderful, and I think that also keeps me going with laughter quite a bit.
Yeah. So it's
fantastic.
It's very important point there, Dave. Thanks. Yeah, the oxytocin, all of the happiness hormones, as I like to call them. They're so important. There's another point. Do we still have a few minutes? Yeah, looks like it.
We do. Yeah, I mean, we're going to run this for another 10 minutes or so. So we can cover some ground.
We sort of talked about a couple of things, you can do, like hug someone, smile at someone, you'll get a smile back. You're also using your muscles on your face and exercising your face when you smile. So for all those, there's something that we often forget to do as adults, and particularly when we're running our own businesses. We forget to stop doing things. We forget to just stop and breathe and basically allow a bit of boredom into our lives. Stare out the window and just look at nothing for a couple of minutes, or watch the clouds float by, or as it Thoreau used to say, just walking, just go for a walk for absolutely no reason. See what comes to you. Listen to the birds. I walk my dog every day, and the birds are incredible, and the sound It's and the sound of a running brook. You know, so they're just, and these things are free. You can just allow a little bit of boredom.
Of
Kids do, you know, they lie on the ground, they do nothing for a few minutes, and then they have a good giggle, and they're happy.
Yeah. Dave, you got another Ho Chi Minh City fan there. My very good friend Gareth Sledmore. Gareth was at school with me and my brother, actually, so that's how long we've known each other. And Gareth's been a world traveller in recent years. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you touched on something there. For sure, Andrea. I'm just going to read another comment here. Yeah, this is a bit of a funny one actually from Kevin. There's probably a serious thing we can discuss. He says, when you were a kid, you used to fall asleep in the middle of your dinner and face plant your spaghetti hoops, and then wake up abruptly and laugh at your predicament. So there's a couple of layers to that, isn't there? Self-deprecation is no problem for kids. They can laugh at something they've done that's silly, that we might feel, you know, embarrassed about as we get older. But what about this falling asleep in the middle of your dinner? Why don't we do that anymore when we grow up?
Well, we learn to control it, you know, and also our attention span gets a bit longer for most of us. Kids they're tired, so they go to sleep. They don't really care where, do they? You know, if it happens to be in a plate of spaghetti. I know my kids, the amount of chocolate cake and carrot puree that they would fall asleep in.
The vegetables sit atop a bed of pasta. Come on. It's a bed of pasta.
Exactly. I got a great picture of Oscar with his face in a chocolate cake. And you can only imagine what that looked like when he got it.
There's an interesting point from Gareth there, I think.
Yeah, I'm just going to show Gareth's comment right here. So yeah, this progression from being carefree and careless children into adulthood isn't linear, irrespective of what country we're in. So some cultures allow us to be more childlike, you know, into adulthood, and we're known as straight-laced, aren't we, as Brits?
Yes.
So,
yeah, I mean, living in France, you know, you get that people don't hug; they just sort of give the peck on the cheek.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I've started introducing with people I meet a hug, and it changes things totally. Like Dave was saying, you know, if you give a hug, it's good for everybody, but you have to tell them here that it's doing them good.
Yeah,
free hugs are not that popular.
No. Well, I think as well we're entering a potentially dark era of every, shall we say, intimate move being construed as sexual harassment, aren't we?
It's a possibility, but it's only one view. It's one possibility, really, Jonny. I feel it's totally possible that we can take things the other way.
Yeah,
you know, there's so many things that we can be doing for nothing, for free, if people don't have much money. I mean, I do things like picnic in my front room. Take your sandwich to the park is something that we do quite a lot in the UK, but in some countries that might be you know, a different thing to do. How in each of your days can you do something slightly different? I don't know. I tried what was it? Wasabi coated sesame on my cheese sandwich the other day. It's or you can be like, it was cool. It was really enjoyable. Not
hot cheese.
You know, how do you add the spice of life without actually using spices?
Yeah.
I love cooking, so
maybe you could add that recipe in the comments, and I think anybody brave enough could try then, couldn't they?
Well, no, actually, I'd like them to say what they do. You know, it's one jam flavored spaghetti. How could you do that?
Jeez. Sounds like a lot of sugar, that does. A lot of sugar.
Well, once a while. I've got a packet of teddy bears here. They're vegan. They're organic, and there's less sugar. So they didn't have any lollipops at the shop.
Yeah. I've just found another comment, which I think if we can unravel this could have practical use for all our businesses. Amber from Los Angeles says we don't spend much time daydreaming and letting the imagination run wild for new ideas. So is our thought too structured and too constricted, Dave, these days?
Probably for some people more than others. Yeah. I mean, one thing that's been coming up for me lately, I've been using the voice memo feature on my phone and just brain dumping, like stream of consciousness, when I don't have somebody to talk to, and when I need to get creative, I just talk, and it doesn't really matter what I say because nobody's listening. The recording is just for my own reference if I come up with something good, and I always do. These recordings have been really, really helpful to me lately as a way of finding inspiration and creativity. Yeah. And what's really funny, and maybe to bring the whole thing full circle, when I was not yet on with you guys, but listening to the beginning of the show, one of the things that I was thinking about was how as little kids, we don't have such high level skill of discernment about what's true and what's not true. If mom and dad tell us something, we are going to kind of believe it.
Yeah, I mean that's why religion, isn't it?
Yeah.
No comment.
So sometimes parents will say something with the best interest of the child at heart and have no way to know the way a child's going to internalize something in a way that may not be so helpful. Like my parents telling me around the age of 2 or so, when I had started talking and really didn't know how to stop and they wanted to shut me up, they told me if I wasn't careful, I was going to run out of words. And this was
terrifying.
I don't know that I was terrified at the time, but I later realized that that had fed into some of my sense of self over the years growing up, and I had to shed that. And so just recently, embracing this habit of speaking into my voice memo, it's like, no, I don't need to talk less. I actually really, really need to talk more just to get my own best ideas out.
Yeah. It's a liberating experience, it's anything, any form of expression. And again, there's lots of points there that Dave brought up that could be the subject for a whole show just on their own. So
we should get Dave on the show. I should get Dave on the show, on the chat show in the next few weeks, Dave. This chat show segment actually been quite popular. I think I've got guests lined up for the next sort of 6 or 7 weeks, but I'll let you know when there's a slot and you can maybe book in. I think there's a really appropriate way to draw this to a close today. Sadly, this is from Rio Alberto Bauer. He says, reading through all this, so that this was for Dave's benefit, this is the comments that we had when we first proposed we were going to do this back on the 2nd of March. A ton of people. So Mario said, reading through all this, you have to wonder whether our modern society isn't actually doomed. What's the benefit of suppressing so many positive features that we're sent on our way through life and then gradually get stripped off one by one very early on? So a bit gloomy. And of course, Andrea responded to that. And she says, I love a challenge. I'd love to help you prove yourself wrong. Well, sadly, Mario isn't here today. I don't think he is.
What a shame.
Yeah, what a shame. But Andrew, what's your response to that? I mean, is it doom and gloom that we're not as childlike as we should be, and it's getting worse, or is there light at the end of this tunnel, if indeed there is a?
It's like I said just earlier on. There are so many possible futures. The only ones that have the power to change that doom and gloom is each of us ourselves. So it's a real shame that Mario's not here, because I think he'd have had a real laugh. And
I know, we should have untangled that with him, shouldn't we?
We could have given him a virtual hug, and then sending out virtual hugs to Mario. It's again, when you start looking into the inside out and what is thought, what is consciousness, what is mind, when you become conscious of your thoughts and you think, hey, hang on a minute, do I want that thought? Or do I want something else in place of it? And you can look at that thought and you can say, that's only a possibility. What possibility do I want? And
we're getting deeper because, of course, the idea of wanting something is a thought in itself, isn't it? You have to think, what you want.
Yes, and that takes me right round to what I was had written down for the beginning, is that children, when they come into this world, they know basically what they need to survive, and they ask for it.
Yeah.
And they will cry, or they will ask for food by crying. They'll ask to be changed by crying.
Yeah.
And it's very important that we let them express that, and that we don't always be doing it, instead of them, that they have the chance. Dave said, it's so important to be able to express yourself. And it starts by just being present, letting them cry a little bit, but not letting them alone crying for too long. Be present, but let them express it, so that they know that afterwards, when they start speaking, they have the right to express themselves. And that comes around to what Gareth was saying about, Gareth said more about show and tell in the comments. In the States, kids are encouraged to speak. Very different, very different.
Well, you know what? If you guys are here for another 5 minutes, we should actually allow Karen the luxury of coming in with us, because she is right here. Hey, Karen. I'm going to send you a link, Karen, my dear. So if you have a look in your Facebook Messenger, I want you to click on this, right? Karen Magic. Karen's one of my favorite people. She's a lovely lady. Click on that link, Karen, and you can jump in. There'll be 4 of us then. What I was going to ask Dave to do, actually, I don't know whether do you do laughter on demand? If I say make us laugh, Dave, can you actually leave us laughing? Is that something you can do?
Yeah.
I'll take it as a request rather than a demand, but yeah, I think you and I maybe we just have some like framing and nomenclature things. Like when you said a moment ago about we'll have to find an appropriate way to wrap this up. I'm thinking, why does it have to be appropriate? Like, I mean, it's your show. You end it any way you want. I'm not going to tell you how or not to how, but like for me, I feel like I've become very disinterested in what is appropriate. And I trust myself to not hurt anybody or encroach upon boundaries inappropriately. Like hugging, for example, I typically will ask people, may I give you a hug? And they say yes. And if they don't want it, they say no. And it's a very easy way to know what's appropriate. But I'm generally not concerned about the appropriateness of, how will people receive my purple toenails? Last week they were green and people thought that was odd, so wearing toenail polish as a grown man, it's just a playful thing I do. But I don't care about appropriateness. If you guys want to laugh, here's what I would suggest. First, recognize that laughter is the sound of joyful breathing. So I would suggest that we all take a deep breath in together and we just make a very slow, conscious exhale with the sound of ha, and just stretch that out. Yeah. So let's breathe in together. Ha.
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Now we'll do it again. 2 sounds. Ha ha.
Okay. Ha ha.
Ha ha.
I'm laughing just watching you two.
Now we'll do it 3 sounds.
I don't need to do it because I laugh naturally.
Well, this is my point. I think you guys are illustrating my point that when we simulate laughter, when we make laughter sounds, it very naturally and organically becomes genuine laughter very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, well, we're doing it. We're doing it anyway. Hey, man, you've done it. I mean, generally speaking, in order to get somebody laughing or to laugh myself, I have to tell or hear a funny joke. Of course, your position is that you really don't have to do that, do you? Just laugh anyway.
No, that's like what we might call a limiting belief. You know, that's not true. That's one of those thoughts you can look at and go, well, I've thought it before and it's really not always been true. Let's see what happens if I don't think that, or if I think it's actively not true.
Yeah. The question I ask myself is it serving me? Is it serving my best version of myself, basically, when some sort of thought like that goes through my head?
Well, I got some great news. Guess who's here?
Hey, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
We're going to
give love those cushions.
We're going to give Karen pride of place because she's just arrived. Karen, you get a bigger screen than the rest of us. I've just flicked you on, so you are featured.
Oh, you know, I can only see a tiny one. So
no, I know you can. When you see it back, or if you look at the Jonny X Marketing Group, you'll actually see the broadcast as it is right now. I mean, we just about run out of steam.
Don't make me think I've got no makeup on.
Okay, I'll bring you back to normal then, if I can. I'm not sure how to do this. There's a way. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so great to see you, Karen. You are a very sunny character. You're always laughing. You're always smiling. You contributed earlier, didn't you, in the month to this thread about things that we've left behind as children.
Yeah.
Just throw us in one last thought. What's the biggest thing that you wish we still had as adults that we had as kids? Put you on the spot now, haven't I?
I know, because I don't know what you discussed. I just think, take life lightly and just have a laugh, just play. It doesn't have to be hard. Oh, hold on a second. Yes, you can. Sorry. That was my daughter. She didn't know I was something on. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, my parents are in their late 80s and still incredibly immature. Do all the things that you're not meant to do. Break every rule they can. I think that's part of the reason that they've lived so long. And they're just really, and I think it's my duty to follow on and defend my immaturity till the end.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to not feel an adult. I'm not an adult. I may look like one, but I'm really not.
Well, anecdotally, I can completely support what you're saying. Look at Ken Dodd, one of the UK's most revered comedians. He was 90 when he died and still laughing, still cracking jokes. He actually thought he was going to come back and go on tour, when he was in hospital. So he just needs to shake off this chest infection and I'll be back on tour doing my 7-hour gigs, But my dad, right, I can tell you, my dad was 95 when he died a year ago next week. And he was laughing to the last. He had a massive arsenal of post-war jokes, right, of gags that would just make people laugh all the time. And he would laugh as he was telling them, as if he'd just heard them for the first time. And he did that till his dying day. And I'm sure there's a massive thing in that. So, Dave, you are onto something, mate. Making the world making the world laugh all the day and every day.
I like being associated with laughter and laughter yoga, but please understand this is a global craze, a global health phenomenon. I've personally laughed with people in all 50 United States and 66 other countries. Laughter yoga over the world. This is not something that I've created myself. It's something that I've become a part of, and then found my own voice for spreading the word about it.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic. Listen, I've got to say, guys, you're all remarkable individuals, and you have all got a childlike vigor. And I hope I still have as well. And I hope everybody watching the recording or watching it live has too. So thanks so much for being here. We've covered all these amazing things about what we left behind as children. Join us again on Tuesday for the Jonny X Marketing Show, where we've got to get all serious again. I put our serious hats on and think about, how we can grow our thriving coaching practices. So for now, thanks everybody, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you all again soon.
Bye, Karen.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.